Physical security is made up of the tangible measures put in place to prevent unauthorized physical access to the operation critical components of your business. It covers everything from the safe in the back office to the pack of hungry dogs circling the building perimeter. In this lesson, we'll outline what's meant by physical security in the context of cybersecurity. We'll look at why it's so important, covering threat types and its 5 key principles. Then we'll discuss the 4 main control areas before going through the top 10 best practices for physical security. Most of these you might think are common sense, but you really would be amazed to discover how many reputable companies of all sizes regularly get these wrong or overlook them and end up paying the price. We'll also look at the types of threats to the workplace, the 4 areas that require controls to maintain good physical security, and have a look at what methods the attacker uses to bypass it. Physical security measures are intended to keep buildings safe and secure whilst also protecting the equipment inside. In a nutshell, pardon the pun, they keep undesired people out while allowing authorized individuals in. While networks and cybersecurity are crucial, physical security breaches and threats must be avoided in order to keep your employees, technology, and data safe. Your workplace will be vulnerable to criminal activity if you don't have physical security policies in place. Physical security concerns include theft, vandalism, fraud, and even accidents. So why is it so important? Especially when we think of cybersecurity as being network and information security, right? Isn't it all about digital security? Well, yes and no, and here's why. If an attacker can easily avoid all the technical effort of hacking into a system simply by getting through a locked door or two, using social engineering skills to impersonate a security guard, and simply physically removing a device, then they'll do just that. And that's why cybersecurity starts with making sure that the digital assets of an organization are physically secure wherever and whenever possible. So threats you might face usually fall into 2 defining categories. There are natural threats like extreme weather events or geological influences, like a landslide for example, and human threats, and these can come from the different types of hackers that are out there or from insiders, whether deliberate or a result of human error. There are 5 key principles of maintaining effective physical security, and these 5 measures, when properly actioned, work together to mitigate the risk of any physical infiltration of an organisation. These are detect, in which an attacker is recognised and appropriate response is initiated; delay, measures to slow down an attack and prevent it from reaching its target if possible; respond, in which response plans and countermeasures are actioned involving all parties concerned; mitigate, to diminish the effects of, prevent in the first place or stop in its tracks any attack carried out; and finally deter, preventive measures put in place to discourage possible future attacks. There are 4 categories of controls that can be implemented to improve the physical security of an organisation. Environmental controls covers things like physical design of an area, internal physical security, and the security of equipment and machines in the workplace, for example. Access controls refer to measures taken such as fencing, security guards and guard dogs, the physical locks on doors and storage, and biometric access controls like facial recognition or fingerprint activated access controls. Administrative controls include restricted areas, procedures around employment, and procedures that need to be followed in the event of an emergency. Technical controls cover surveillance, security alarms, and intrusion detection systems, so CCTV or security cameras would fall into this category. Let's now take a look at some examples of breach methods commonly used by the bad guys to break into a target building. You'll see that most of these are due to design flaws and some pretty impressive ingenuity on the criminals' part. Both servers and workstations should be protected from thieves who can open the case and grab the hard drive. It's much easier to make off with a hard disk in your pocket than to carry a full tower off the premises. Many computer cases come now with locks to prevent opening the case without a key. Before you lock down the servers, in fact, before you even turn them on for the first time, you should ensure that there are good locks on the server room door. Of course, the best lock in the world doesn't do any good if it isn't used, so you also need policies requiring that those doors be locked any time that the room's unoccupied, and the policies should set out who's authorised to have access. Locking the door to the server room is a good first step, but someone could break in, or someone who's got authorised access could abuse that authority. So you really need a way to know who goes in and who comes out and when. A logbook for signing in and out is the most elementary way to do this, but it has a lot of drawbacks. Someone with malicious intent is likely just to bypass it. A better solution is an authentication system built into the locking devices so that a smart card, a token or biometric scan is required to unlock the doors, and a record is made of the identity of anyone who enters. A video surveillance camera placed in a location that makes it difficult to tamper with but still gives a good view of anyone coming and going should supplement the logbook or electronic access system. Surveillance cameras can monitor continuously, or they can use motion detection technology to record when someone's moving about. They can even be set up to send email or mobile phone notifications now if motion is detected after hours. Remember, it's not just the servers that you have to worry about. A hacker can plug a laptop into a hub and use sniffer software to capture data travelling across the network. Make sure that as many of your network devices as possible are in a locked room, or if they need to be in a different area, in locked storage elsewhere in the building. It's really important to be aware of what's in plain view of unauthorised eyes and who might be watching as you type or print sensitive documents. Be sure to keep documents or notes out of sight either by filing them away or shredding unwanted paperwork. And be aware of who may be able to see your keyboard and your computer screen as you work. Hackers can use any unsecured computer that's connected to the network to access or delete sensitive information. Workstations at unoccupied desks or in empty offices or at locations easily accessible to outsiders, like the front receptionist desk for example, are particularly vulnerable. Disconnect or remove computers that aren't being used and lock the doors of empty offices, including those that are temporarily empty while employees are absent, and equip computers that need to stay in open areas with smart cards or biometric readers so that it's more difficult for unauthorised persons to log in when no one's watching. Portable devices store sensitive and private data, information that must be protected in order to ensure the safety and security of organisations, clients and employees. As a result, in addition to standard security measures, it's critical to secure all commercial and private devices like mobile phones and laptops to maintain security protocols and reduce the attack surface. Make sure you've got strong passwords and two-factor authentication set up on them all. Avoid connecting them to public networks, never install apps from third-party portals, and update them regularly to ensure that they're the latest and most secure software installed at all times. Backup is essential for data protection. A regular backup, preferably daily or weekly, protects your important files from data loss caused by common events such as system crashes, malware infection, and hard drive corruption or failure. Backup is the most dependable, simple, and secure method of restoring lost files after data loss. A regular backup can easily restore up to 100% of files. Files created, updated, or added to the system between backup cycles, on the other hand, won't be restored, and you'll need data recovery software for that. Backing up your systems and data is the most effective defense against ransomware attacks. Installing malware or other viruses onto dropped USB devices is a hacking technique that's existed for about as long as the device itself. In fact, one of the largest cyber breaches in US military history back in 2008 was caused by a single corrupted USB drive. Despite the fact that the device was only plugged into one computer, the USB-based malware crept silently through the network until it reached US Central Command. Although it wasn't confirmed or denied that the rogue program stole classified information, the breach served as a chilling warning. You can get physical grommets now that you can buy online to plug into an unused socket, or you can disable the drives through options in your operating system in most cases. Almost every office worker relies on the trusty office printer, though it's rarely given much thought unless it breaks down or runs out of supplies. However, many businesses are unaware that modern printers, like virtually everything else these days, are computers. They contain chips for data processing, hard drives for data storage, and Ethernet support for communicating on the company network. Regularly clearing the onboard memory, keeping them updated, and making sure you adhere to a strict document shredding policy for any surplus copies is a great way to keep them safe and off an attacker's radar.
Physical security is important because if I have access to a computer, I can break into it there and then, essentially. When it comes to physical security, one of the most important aspects of any data or any computer is making sure that it's locked down. When you have access to a computer, it's very, very easy to do a couple steps to completely unlock that computer, even if you don't know the password. Physical security is about managing the assets, the physical assets of a company, and any data that is stored on those assets. So you think of a server room, you're not only going to have to secure the data on the server, but you're also going to have to secure the access to the room, the access to the building, and make sure that all that stuff is protected through different layers.
To summarise then, we've defined physical security and learned about the physical attributes of a company. We've looked at the types of threats to physical security and why maintaining a secure workplace is so important. We also looked at the 4 control areas to consider before running through the 10 best practices around physical security and then outlining the attacker's perspective, and also some of the ways that they will infiltrate a physical space. Remember that network security starts at the physical level. All the firewalls in the world won't stop an intruder who's able to gain physical access to your network and computers, so lock up as well as lock down. Most physical security is common sense, and it can be improved greatly just by giving it a little bit of thought and planning. An attacker will often choose an easy physical access point over a complex digital firewall. They will do their homework on the physical attributes of a building, they'll learn what security is in place, and they'll come up with a plan to infiltrate the premises, usually posing as an inconspicuous person who's not likely to attract any attention to themselves. In the next lesson, we're going to look at the social engineering techniques that they use to do just that, and trick employees into giving them the information that they're after. I'll see you there.